What's going on, Bigger Pockets? It's Matt Faircloth. So I have an exciting thing to talk to you guys about. I got to talk about the hard part of something that we all are striving to be or are already, which is being a landlord. And what's interesting is a lot of us either want to be landlords or are landlords, and we talk about the glorification, the good side of it, the passive income that comes from it, the lifestyle that it allows, meaning like you're not necessarily working Monday through Friday 9 to 5 as a landlord. You get to choose your hours a bit, and sometimes you have to respond to things that are not on the schedule. But for the most part, landlording allows for a lot of lifestyle decisions, and it creates cash flow, meaning like you don't have to necessarily work for the money that you're getting. You get to create something that produces money, and you do have to work, but the level of money you make is not equivalent to the amount of hours you put in. That's what's great about being a landlord, is you're able to make a good amount of money really as a landlord without putting in an exorbitant amount of hours that's correlated to the amount of money you make. If you guys follow, we all know that we're all drinking the same Kool-Aid. That's why you guys all love Bigger Pockets, because it's all about landlording. But let's talk about the negative sides of landlording, just the hard parts of landlording, that for those of you guys that are just thinking about getting into this game, you really need to listen to this, because this is what you're going to have to deal with in being a landlord. And for those of you guys that are landlords, let's commiserate together and talk about what the things that are maybe not so great about being a landlord, right? So here are the 3 hardest parts about being a landlord, okay? So the first one is that you're dealing with people, okay? And when you're dealing with people as a landlord, there is an organ in our body called our heart. And some of us have forgotten that that's in there, but it is in here, and there's a heart right around this area, and we all have one, and we have a heart that sometimes can go out to other humans, and that it looks like this, right? You're dealing with people as your tenants that may be going through something that will cause them to cause a detriment to your business. Let's say a tenant loses their job. I've had tenants that have lost their job. I've had tenants that have lost close family members. I've had tenants that have lost their spouse while they were my tenants, and your heart goes out to them. You cannot, I cannot separate myself from those things, because I'm human too, right? So I transpose myself into the situation. I'm like, oh geez, that must stink, and that. So it's hard being a landlord in holding the line of your company and of what you want to see. You need the rents to come in and stuff like that. The things that you need to have to make the company operate and to create the lifestyle you want and to benefit your family and everything that's on your side of the equation. I get that, right? Because here's the tenant, right? Right? And here's you, okay? And there are times where things that may detriment the tenant will benefit you, okay? And as a heart, your heart goes into this equation. You're like, okay, well, how do I reconcile that? This is difficult. The only thing that I've been able to do is to create another person that's in between me and the tenant. They call it my property manager, because when I used to manage directly myself, I would buy the story of, okay, I'm so sorry that your car broke down, and that's okay. Take another 3 weeks to pay your rent, and that turns into the next story the next month, and that, oh, my mother died, or this, or whatever. And they could just be having a run of down luck, and I get that, and I feel for them. But my heart got too involved in this. And I didn't want the tenant to have, because my heart got into it, and I didn't want the tenant to have detriments, because I'd transpose myself into their story, and I would end up selling out myself to give the tenant a fighting chance and to let them come around and everything like that. So you need an intermediary. And the bottom line, you may need an intermediary in this, because although you might be able to separate yourself from them to a degree, it's okay. You can commiserate and feel sorry for them and feel that, but you really can't allow things that are happening on their side to really affect you. And there's a balance in being a landlord, because you still want to be a human. You still want to accept that they've had these things happen, but also let them know that, listen, I'm sorry this has happened to you. But at the end of the day, we have rules that we've both agreed to in this legal agreement. So I'm sorry that your car broke down, or let's get real, that your mother passed away, or that you lost your job, whatever it is that happened. I understand these things, but we have a legal agreement I have to uphold, and so I am going to have to file eviction. There are services that are out there that can help you get back on your feet. I am not those services. I am a company. I'm not those services that are there, that are charity organizations that can help you or give you an injection of some cash to help you get back on your feet. I feel for you, and maybe if you really feel for these people, go and put together a list of organizations that can help these tenants. You are not one of those organizations. You can come up with an organization that does. You're not a not-for-profit, right? And it's okay that you're not. So send them an organization. Hey, listen, here's a bunch of lists of organizations that can help people that are a little bit down in their luck, that need a boost, that need a shot in the arm financially to help them get back on their feet. You know, I can't do that, so I have to evict. But here's a list, right? That's a way to reconcile that. But I must warn all of you that it doesn't stop the fact that you do start to feel these people's pain a little bit. If that's how you are, like if you're wired like I am, you got a big heart, then you will have to do things that are difficult to do, meaning like file eviction and stuff like that on tenants. So here's the number 2. Okay, remember I talked about time? Okay. Being a landlord in the beginning. Now, once you've built a big team, and once you've got lots of properties with a property manager, and once you're more hands off, then this doesn't play as much. But in the beginning, when you've only got a couple of units, and when you the people that I know that have only a couple of units and are 100% hands off, it's hard to be successful in the business because you need to be a little more hands-on to make sure things are running properly, to meet with your property manager, or to handle it yourself, or to meet with a property manager, whichever one you want to do. But landlording can cause your time to be pulled out in emergencies and things like that, right? Like let's say you own a couple of single family homes, just getting started style portfolio, and you have a hot water heater burst in one of your properties. Well, the tenant and the plumber and the property manager and all these folks are not going to wait until you get off of work at 5 o'clock to handle that. What should I do about this hot water heater phone call? You need to take that phone call now and address it now. Make a decision now, because it is potentially a life safety issue or a major property damaging issue. And that call is either going to come maybe at 2 o'clock in the afternoon when you are at work, if you still got a day job, and that's okay that you do. But let's say it happens then, or it may happen, God forbid, at 2 o'clock in the morning, okay? And I've had both those things happen. So there are time aspects of this landlording business that are a major gift. Like, I'll give you an example. When my father was ill, and I'll get real with you, my father was ill and he passed away about 10 years ago. Because I'm a full-time landlord, I was able to run my business from where he lived, right? I was able to be with him for several weeks and just move down there, and I was like, okay, I will be with my father, I'll aid my mother, and I'll be there for several weeks at a time. That would have been very hard to do if I'd had a day job, but because I'm a landlord, I was able to pick up everything and go over there to deal with that. That's a major gift of time that this business gave me. On the other side of it, there are times when this business will need your time, even if it's for a little bit, to make a decision, to be involved in the conversation, whatever it is. So one of the things, the hardest parts is making yourself available and the time that this business pulls you in when you don't want to. The gift is this business allows you to pull away from it when it doesn't. When this business doesn't need you, it's great. And because that could be 2 in the afternoon on a Tuesday as well. If you're doing this full time, that's great. Go take your son for a bike ride if you want. While you're technically on the clock and earning money, you can do that. That's a gift this business can give you. The detriment is, when this business needs you, it needs you right now. And you got to stop what you're doing, whether you're on vacation. And I've gotten phone calls on vacation. I've gotten phone calls at 2 o'clock in the morning. Sometimes you got to take those calls. And so this business gives time, but it also can take time when you don't want to give it away. This business definitely does not go away after 5 o'clock. If you have a job, you can likely put that behind you at 5 p.m. Maybe you're still swimming in the argument you have with your coworker, or something your boss said or whatever. Maybe that's still swimming around up here. But for the most part, you can separate it and put it back over here. Landlording doesn't stop after 5 o'clock, and if you're a full-time business owner like I am, this thing never stops churning. You never stop thinking about it, even if you're not in it, right? That's a whole nother conversation. So let's see. Let's do number 3. Okay, number 3 is this is kind of a combination of 2 things, but this is that you're your own boss, and that's great. Right, and I was an employee for years, and what's great is that when I was an employee, there was someone telling me what to do, which is a lot of people don't like that. Like, I don't want to be told what to do. I want to do my own thing, right? That's great, but remember that when nobody's telling you what to do, there's nobody telling you what to do, right? Like, and that's in some ways that stinks. And so in the beginning, and until you figure this out, being a landlord on your own, doing it yourself. Now that looks like a couple different, that once you figure out how to get around this, and I'll tell you how to get around it, this sticks. This is really, this can show up a lot of different ways. And what I mean by doing it yourself, and I mean not like a DIY, build your own set of cabinets. I mean figuring out this business on your own, right? And the symptoms of doing things on your own will look like, one symptom is something called shiny nickel syndrome. And what that looks like is okay, I'm going to go and find myself an apartment building to buy. Okay, I'm going to go and look at it and evaluate it, and not realizing you really don't have the money to buy it, you don't have the resources or the team or the investors. But you know what? Because nobody's telling you, hey, listen, stop, you might not want to look at that. Then you can go and waste weeks of a time looking at something that you have no capacity to handle, right? Or you could do what I did, which is like, okay, I'm going to chase a flip on Tuesday, and then the next day I'm going to go look at a land development deal, and then on Wednesday or Thursday I'm going to go and look at a shopping center, and on Friday I'm going to go look at a single family home deal. It's a lot of real estate's exciting, and it's easy to get chased into the shiny nickels of the different directions you can go, because it's all exciting, it's all fun. If you guys love real estate like I do and like a lot of you guys do, then you can end up chasing and going a lot of different directions on those things that are exciting. The problem is that a lot of them, like 90% of those things that are exciting, are also distractions, right? They're not going to take you where you need to go, where you want to go, and the reason for that is they're not in line with your goals, right? And here is how you get out of shiny nickel syndrome, doing it yourself, and just being your own boss, right? Because think about that. One of the reasons why bosses are great is because they tell you what to do, right? They give you guidance. They can be mentors. Not all bosses are awful. You picture this emoji in your head of a boss like smoking a cigar with his feet up on the table yelling at you. Most bosses aren't like that. Most bosses that I've ever dealt with or that I've had in my career have been pretty good people that are just trying to help me out. They're just trying to give me some direction. The thing is, owning your own company gives you more freedom, but it also gives you more responsibility, a ton more responsibility. And being your own boss means that you've got to direct your company, and directing your company means that you've got to have a good set of goals on where you want to go. Just, I want to make money, or I want to quit my job, or want to have passive income is not a good enough goal. Right? You need to have goals that are centered around what specific resources you want to get into, what kind of properties you want to buy, and then build the assets that you need, like the team members, the realtors, the financial side, all that stuff around where you want to go. If you don't do that, then you'll be subject to shiny nickel syndrome, and you're going to run in a bunch of different directions, and you're going to have a lot of fun, like I did when I first quit my job. I ran a lot of different directions, and I had a lot of fun and met a lot of great people, but at the end of the day I didn't get much done because I didn't have really good goals on where I wanted to go and what I wanted, right? And so that is what we got. Again, and the way around this is having good goals, and I forgot, mentor. You need a mentor and you need a community. Today is Matt's bad handwriting day. So get out doing it yourself. You got to have good goals on where you want to go in the next 1 year, 3 years, and 5 years. Where you want to go in those time frames, and then you need a mentor that's going to spot check you on those goals, and a community that's going to hold you accountable to those goals. When I say spot check you on the goals, by the way, for your mentor, I mean someone that's going to look at your goals and say, yes, that's realistic. It's a stretch goal, but it's realistic. You can find both these two things, a mentor and a community that can hold you accountable and help you get where you want to go through biggerpockets.com, right? Bigger Pockets, and it also can give you some inspiration around your goals. So these three things are what you can get through communities like Bigger Pockets to help you guys get where you want to go and to stop you from doing it yourself. But make sure that you're clear on your goals and where you want to go, and don't get inspired by somebody else's goals and start adopting their goals, right? This is the biggest mistake you can make, is to take, if you're Sally, to go and borrow Joe's goals because it sounds cooler than yours do. It's okay. There's not one way to success in this business. There's a lot of different ways to success. So if you just chase your goals and stick to them and be willing to do them for the long term, you will be successful, but you got to avoid the shiny nickel syndrome that can pull you off of this, right? So in review, my friends, if you got a heart, which we all do, it's all in here, this business can be difficult because you're dealing with humans. You're not dealing with making widgets. And you got to remember that you're dealing with human beings. One of the mantras from my company is to transform lives through real estate. My goal is to make their lives better by being one of my tenants. Now, I can still do that by giving them a great place to live and giving them security and safety and a lot of different things that living in a home that we own can give them. But at the end of the day, they also need to hold up their side of the bargain. And if you have a heart like I do, sometimes it's hard to not transpose yourself into their situation and feel for them. And you can do that, but you need to. And if you have a big heart and you might compromise where you're coming from in exchange for them, then have a property manager be the intermediary for you, right? Time. This business can give a lot of gifts of time, but it can also take them away by you having to respond when you don't want to. And doing it yourself, DIY the bad way, and not having enough guidance in that, and just trying to lead your own ship can be a huge detriment in this business until you figure out how to get goals, a mentor, and a community. Okay? That's what I got, guys. Now, for those of you guys that have watched this whole thing, please leave a comment because I want to hear from those of you guys that maybe got some inspiration from this, want to commiserate with me more on how these things can be very hard in this business, but also more importantly than all of it, there's like 10 other reasons why it's hard to be a landlord. This is not an easy gig. It's not. This is not a sip my ties on the beach type of business. If that's what you want, go try something else. This can be a tough business. It can be very rewarding, but it's also tough in a lot of ways. So, if you have other things that you think are hard about the real estate business or about landlording, post them in the comment section so we can chat about it, okay? That's what I got, guys. Thank you so much for watching and reading. Have a great and profitable week.